With Tourette's, I never felt like I fit in school. I never felt like I fit in anywhere. Nothing felt relatable. I have an older brother. He's 5 years older. So 5 years is just a wide enough gap where, like, I stood no chance, like, bullying wise. I stood no chance physical altercation wise. He broke my collarbone at one point.
John,
Hello.
so welcome to my story.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we spoken a little bit before this, and it was a very tumultuous pre-production.
Yeah, no, we've been here for an hour putting up this blue background because before it was a white background, a paper-colored background, as he called it. I don't know if you've heard of the word white
Right,
before, but you're calling it a paper-colored background.
So we came in here, and I was very unprofessional, but John he's a good mate, man. He's very solid, and we got this up, and put it up. So we'll start just giving that preface. But so let's start with the origins of John Jacobs.
Sure. Am I looking at you or the camera?
The camera.
Okay, I'm looking at the camera.
Yeah, pretend I'm the
Got
camera.
it. Okay,
Oh,
got
well,
it.
you're looking at me.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the origins of John Jacobs.
Sure.
Who are you? Where were you born at? How was your early childhood?
Sure.
And then we'll get into, everything else.
Sure. Well, first off, this was a Craigslist ad I responded to, so I'm just happy I'm not murdered right now. This is a win. I was ready to get killed coming here, which I feel like says a lot about me in general, that I'm responding to Craigslist ads. I've been doing stand-up comedy for 16 years, almost 17 years, and I'm still at a point where I'm responding to Craigslist ads. I wasn't even sure if there was money involved. I was just like, oh, some sort of media to make. It's content. I need content. But yeah, so I'm just happy that I'm alive and this is real and Blue is a real person. I mean, I had no idea what was going on. This isn't like someone's apartment. It's a studio, technically, I guess, but there's an oven right next to the camera right now. So but yeah, you gotta hustle. You gotta make things work. You gotta do it however you can do it. But yeah, so my name is John Jacobs. I'm 34 years old now. I grew up in Chevy Chase, Maryland, which is already hilarious. My name is John Jacobs, and I grew up in Chevy Chase, Maryland. So already people are like, what are you talking about? Like, it sounds made up. It sounds like nonsense. But yeah, my name is John Jacobs, and that name is a nursery rhyme, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. So my entire childhood, people would sing at me immediately. Strangers, people I've never met, would just go, John Jacobs, like the song? And they go, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. And they go, have you heard it before? Did you know that? What did your parents think when they named you that? And I guess my parents thought that children weren't assholes, but also they didn't even know the song. My dad still doesn't even get it. I'll say to my dad sometimes, I'm like, yeah, growing up with like a funny name, and he'll go, what are you talking about? And I go, this song, the nursery rhyme. And he goes, what? And I go, kids would sing to me my whole life. He goes, really? Kids would sing that song? He goes, people even know about that? I'm like, yeah, he thinks he knows better what having the name John Jacobs is like than me. You know what I mean? Like, parents think they know better on everything. He thinks he knows what the experience being John Jacobs is better than I do. But yeah, John Jacobs, everyone sang to me. Still do, my whole life. I went to CVS the other day, just the cashier, like, give her my credit card. She goes, is that really your name? As if I'm giving her a fake credit card. I go, no, yeah, that's my real name, John Jacobs. So yeah, my entire life has felt like a novelty. But beyond that, I have Tourette syndrome, and it was pretty severe growing up, where I'd make a noise and I'd make a movement with my eyes. And I still blink a certain weird way. I still breathe a certain weird way. And it's extremely consuming. It takes a lot of energy from me all day, every day, just to suppress it. It's very annoying. It feels like your body's being held hostage by something in your brain. Like, the closest way I could describe it or compare it would be like some sort of like demonic possession. Really, I went to a psychic recently. I've been to more psychics than doctors in my life, which I feel like says a lot about me. But I went to a psychic recently, and I was wondering about the Tourette's. I brought that up, and she said, oh, it's because you were a bad person in your past life, so like you're cursed. So great. And of course, I just believe all this stuff anyway. I go, oh yeah, totally, yeah, for sure. Like, I went to a psychic last year. I was on a date with a psychic, actually, and she turned out to be like a super legit psychic in London. It was wonderful. And I knew she was a good psychic because when we were doing the tarot reading, she started like, her eyes were like rolling in the back of her head. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, she's like really talking to spirits. But what did she say? Why did I bring this up? Psychics, spirits.
I think we were talking about you had Tourette's.
Yeah.
You have Tourette's. And
yeah, I have Tourette's.
you're trying to understand it. You went to the psychic. You ended up on a date
yes,
with
ended
the
up on a
psychic.
date with a psychic who did a tarot reading. She, yeah.
Was she, how did you meet her? Like,
I met her on like a dating app.
Yeah.
But and then I knew she was a really good psychic because after the first date, she was like, I don't want to see you again. This isn't going to work. And I was like, oh, wow. But if she was a really good psychic, she wouldn't have seen me in the first place. But yeah, speaking of, I don't remember why I brought up the second psychic, but she said that, what did it, well, because yeah, she did the eyes thing. I knew she was legit. I don't know. I believe psychics. But she also said, the best year of my life is going to be when I'm 36 and I'm 34. And she said I was going to work with a big comedy production. And I want to work for SNL. That's always been my dream. I love it so much.
I seen that you, and I don't want to cut you off. I seen on your YouTube, you were on like a daytime television show, but you were auditioning for SNL.
Yeah, I was on a daytime talk show in Tampa called Bloom TV, and I told them I was gonna like sing a song for them or something, but I just took the time to audition for Saturday Night Live on the show because whatever, it's a TV opportunity. It's also on NBC. I figure maybe they'll notice me. So I did a bunch of impressions and dumb stuff, and nothing came of it, but I'm still trying. But anyways, yeah, the psychic said I'll make it at 36, but that was in London. And then the recent one who said I have Tourette's because I was bad in a past life, which is brutal. I feel cursed. I've done so much for so long, and barely anything ever seems to work out. I can't make anything work.
When she says bad, is she saying did she tell you specifically what you did, or she was just vague and said you were bad in a past life, so this is what the condition is now?
She told me if I came back and paid for another session, she would get into more details about what I did in my past life. So she didn't tell me what I was evil about in the past life, but yeah.
To get that information, you have to pay a premium.
Yeah, there was a paywall for, yeah. One time I went to a psychic and she said I was going to be convicted of murder. And I said, am I going to, wait, no, she said I was going to be, what's the word? Like accused, but set up or whatever. I don't know. She was like, you're going to be, set up for murder or whatever. And I said, am I going to beat the charge? She said, no. So great. I was like, well, I kind of want to murder you then because it can't be fake if I do it. Yeah, but yeah, so the psychic in London says 36, best year of my life. And then in New York, the recent psychic, I went to a psychic for my girlfriend's birthday. We're broken up as of a week ago. It didn't work. But, and wild enough, that psychic, she said, someone with the letter J is going to disappoint you. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, weird, my name starts with a J. And then, yeah, we broke up. But we go to a psychic for my girlfriend's birthday, and she gets a terrible reading. The psychic's like, you're empty, you're depressed, you're not going to work in entertainment. She's like, oh my God. But then it's a great reading for me. She's like, you're going to be famous, you're going to be rich, you're going to own multiple homes. But then we have to sit the rest of the day and we're like, yeah, that fucking psychic, she didn't know shit, for you. She was right for me, not, she didn't get you right. But yeah, the psychic in New York, she also said that my life would be the best it'll ever be when the year turns to 2027. And in 2027, I'll be 36.
And so these two psychics in tandem foreseeing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Psychics, complete opposite ends of the world, have both told me that 36 will be the best year of my life. So I just have to survive to 36, which is, tough. But yeah, anyways, I grew up with Tourette syndrome. I still have Tourette syndrome. And my name is John Jacobs. So with Tourette's, I never felt like I fit in school. I never felt like I fit in anywhere. Nothing felt relatable. I have an older brother. He's 5 years older. So 5 years is just a wide enough gap where I stood no chance, bullying wise. I stood no chance physical altercation wise. He broke my collarbone at one point. He just threw me across the room and it broke my collarbone. And yeah, we weren't that close growing up because he had had multiple concussions and that it affected his brain a lot. And he had bipolar and like kind of manic depressive, maybe at one point they said schizophrenic tendencies. And he was in and out of mental hospitals through my childhood. So there was always drama with him involving my parents and in the house. So I just kind of felt a little removed from my own family a lot. So I felt removed from kids in school. I felt removed from my family. So I didn't feel, part of anything ever, really. But everybody would stare at me because of the Tourette's. So I just became funny. I just turned to comedy, definitely as a coping mechanism. But I think it's because people were staring at me, where I was like, okay, well, if people are gonna be looking at me, like, I might as well give them a show. You know what I mean? I might as well try to, own the moment, give the power to myself. I don't want to just be looked at and, laughed at and be the weird guy or whatever. If I can be funny, then I'll have something that, will give me the power and, make me likable too. So yeah, I was always the wacky, silly kid. I had really long hair. I had really long hair too for the last 7 years. I just cut it 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I had a funny look. I wore the same sweater every day for an entire year in 6th grade, just because it was comfortable. I didn't care about, anything really. And yeah, it felt good. I thought it looked fine. I didn't care about fashion. And so I wore this sweater every day for a whole year. And then by the end of the year, I had a little hole in it. So I just ripped it up completely in school one day. And people were blown away because they were like, this is the sweater you've worn every single day for a year, and now you're tearing it up like it's nothing. They're like, what the hell? It blew their mind. And I was like, I don't care. It's just a sweater. And they were like, yeah, but it's your favorite thing. You wear it every day. I was like, so what? It's just a sweater. And then kids were like, can I have pieces of it? So I ripped it up and I signed it. And I gave away pieces of the sweater I wore every day for a whole year to kids. And one of my friends still had a piece as of 5-6 years ago. But yeah, so that was crazy. Because people were like, this is, pretty epic. But yeah, so Tourette's and having a name, John Jacobs from Chevy Chase, I've just always been a novelty. I feel like a court jester. You know what I mean? I've always been the one they turn to for comic relief. And because of stress in my family as well, I always wanted to keep it light and not be a problem in my house. So yeah, I've always felt like I've just been floating around. I don't feel emotionally tied to anything really outside of just the idea of freedom. And I think because I have Tourette syndrome, as I've gotten older and been able to suppress it, just absolute freedom to me is so important because I feel so restricted already physically that I just don't have any capacity for any other authority in my life, really, because I'm people have no idea how hard it is for me to just look at something for a few minutes without twitching. The noise was brutal too. And luckily the noise has gone away, but I did stand up with a comedian once, a woman named Christina P., who runs a podcast called Your Mom's House with her husband Tom Segura. And yeah, she was like, oh, you should talk about it on stage. She goes, maybe you should make the noise on stage. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll think about that. So I went home that night and I just made the noise that I made when I was a child to see if I could replicate it or whatever. And just making the noise immediately made me feel sick. I had a migraine headache. The whole world was spinning. And I think it's because I have such PTSD from that noise controlling me my whole childhood that I just can't ever go back to that. And it's so scary and painful to think about and do. But yeah, so childhood, Chevy Chase, Maryland, it's upper class suburbs. But upper class in Maryland is still a normal shitty house in Kentucky because it's DC. So a nice house is oh sweet, I have a twin bed and a closet, awesome. But that's supposed to be real nice. And eventually the house did get a little nicer. They renovated a little bit. But yeah, I was a skater kid. I had a big group of friends. I had 10 friends who we're still pretty close. And I was the funny kid. I made them all laugh. I was nonstop entertainment. And I think a big moment for me comedically would have been probably like third or fourth grade, something like that. I was at a friend's house, and he had an older brother who was 2 years older, so his friends were like fifth grade or sixth grade. And we're all sitting at a table, like eating lunch that the friend's mom had made. And so there's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 of my friends who are my age, and then like 3 or 4 of his brother's friends who are older than us. So I'm at a table with like 8 kids. And then my friend, he says, oh, we should play a game. He goes, let's just go around the table and see how long it takes for John to make you laugh. And, I'm sure, yeah, okay, whatever. And so one at a time, we go around the table, and I'm just able to break every single person one at a time. Older kids, kids my age, kids who, like, there's a kid there that I know doesn't even like me, but I'm still able to break him somehow. And that was kind of a moment where I realized, like, okay, I do have some sort of power here where I can make anyone laugh, because I think I don't have any threshold for what I'm willing to hold back. I'm willing to do anything to make someone laugh, even if, it may be detrimental to me physically, even if it's a pratfall or some sort of slapstick physical comedy. I'm willing to be an idiot. I'm willing to be a clown for other people's entertainment, because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I have a purpose. It makes me feel valuable, that I can, make someone laugh, bring joy to their life when it feels like every other part of my life I don't have control over. I don't have any power anywhere else. So yeah, I knew in that moment, like, okay, comedy must be the thing that'll have to work out for me. So I recognized that when I was younger, but didn't really do much. I wasn't good in school. I went to Chevy Chase Elementary School up until 6th grade. It was mostly, a white suburban elementary school, only a couple black Spanish kids. And then 7th grade, I went to Westland Middle School. And my first day, my first period, was a class called Related Studies. And it was in a little room with no windows, like the size of a closet. And on the outside, it had a little placard that said special ed. So, okay, huh? And I go into the class the first day, and it's 12 seats that reach from the front of the room to the back of the room, like 4 rows of 3. You have to step over the desks to get to your desk. And now I'm the only white kid in the class, and I'm the only white kid by far. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty rough group of kids, and I'm learning as the moments go on that related studies, it was sold to my parents, I guess, as like, oh, kids with learning disabilities who need like extra time to do the homework they didn't do yesterday, this will be a time for them to do that. But in reality, it was looking more like these were like the bad kids. These were like the unruly kids, and they just needed a place to like hold them all at the beginning of the day and kind of like force them to do the homework that they know they didn't do the day before. And it was all boys, 12 boys, and the teacher was the soccer coach, who was really more like a security guard. So it was a windowless room with all these rough boys. I'm the only white kid. And then the first day, the teacher steps out of the room for a second, and I'd just gotten a cell phone. I'm like 11 or 12 years old, 7th grade. No one had really cell phones yet. I don't need a cell phone. Who the fuck are kids talking to? But yeah, so I pull out this cell phone, and the kids in the class see it, and they go, this motherfucker's got a cell phone. They go, let's take it from him. Let's beat his ass. And they all get up, and they start to come to me. And the kid behind me just jumps up and goes, if any of you touch him, I'll fucking kill you. And they back off. This is like the toughest kid in the room. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, am I this kid's bitch now? This is like prison. This is crazy. But so for some reason, in 7th grade, merging with all these other schools, I'm now the only white kid in all my classes, because I'm in all the lowest classes, because I have Tourette's and I just don't care about school. And it's a weird deal where, like, okay, I'm the only white kid. It's all black kids in my classes. And it goes, well, it's all the lowest classes. It goes, what does that mean? It goes, why is it all black kids in the lowest classes? What does that mean? And in reality, it doesn't mean anything about intelligence. It's just because all the black kids in the school, both of their parents had jobs and just weren't home after school to help them. They just didn't have resources to like be in these higher classes. So they needed all the help they could get, and they weren't on the higher level of like the privileged white kids. So it had nothing to do with, ability and intelligence. It was just their families are working. It's tougher at home for them. So this is what it is. So yeah, it was definitely like a culture shock to go from like, nice, pleasant suburban shit to now I'm like, oh, like I stand out like crazy there. And not only that, for some reason, my elementary school had propagated the idea that I was like the tough kid. I was the kid from our school who like represented the tough kids. And it's because I had Tourette's and I was just misunderstood and like they saw me as crazy or whatever. Even though I was the funny kid, they're like, he's the tough kid too. And I did fight a lot in elementary school and I did feel strong. And it's kind of that concept of like retard strength, which you're not supposed to say. But because I had Tourette's, I was able to make up for it in other physical ways. I think I'm a fast dude. I think I'm a strong dude. I was able to bench press 300 pounds at one point in high school. So I do have a bit of strength and I think a bit of an instinct, which, other people might not have. So I was a good fighter all through my childhood, but this spread around immediately in 7th grade. So everyone from the other schools would just come up to me and they're like, we heard you're the fucking tough kid. We're going to fight you. Fuck you. So immediately in middle school, I just had a target of like, okay, well, everybody wants to fight me, whatever. But because I was in all the same classes as all these kids who wanted to fight me, it was like, okay, well, all right, we're going to be friends now. And, we did fight and people would want to fight me up front. But you kind of learn too when you fight somebody, you become friends pretty quick. And like every social media video you see of like dudes getting in bar fights or MMA fights, these guys are always hugging at the end of it and all this shit because it is like a very animalistic experience to fight someone. And it is like a very wild moment. But so related studies, absolute pure chaos every day. And the soccer coach started showing up late on Fridays. So kids would flip the lights off, and because there's no windows, it's pitch black, and then people would just beat the shit out of each other in the dark, and they'd mostly like jump this one kid. But one day they flipped the lights on, and me and another kid would like kind of hide in a corner because we don't want to fight a bunch of kids. It's like 7 a.m. Give me a break. But so they flipped the lights on, and they noticed we hadn't been fighting, so they go, okay, you guys weren't fighting. You two, you fight each other because you didn't fight. So now they make a circle on us, and we're forced to fight each other, and the kid hits me in the face, and I start bleeding out of my nose, and right then the soccer coach comes in, and he realizes what's happened.
The guy who's the teacher.
Yeah, the teacher. Okay. Yeah, the teacher who's late now shows up. I'm bleeding. I go, can I go to the bathroom? And he goes, yeah, you go. And he realizes like this is his fault. Like you can't be showing up late to the class that's all the bad kids. But it was an interesting deal because I clean myself off and I come back. And the kids are like, ooh, like he made you bleed, like you have to jump him now because he got you. And they go, we'll help you. And so the rest of the class, the kid who like I fought with, he was my friend, like we were friends, but he was worried and he understood like the rules of the game or whatever, where he's like, oh no, like, yeah, ooh, uh-oh, like you're gonna jump me or whatever. So after the class, like me and these other kids, we did like jump my friend and I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't want to do this. They're making us do this. But it was such strange rules that was all brand new to me. Like people are jumping each other now. Everybody, it was a very, fucking, street ghetto shit, which I wasn't used to. But this was all I knew now. These were my classmates. All my white friends from elementary school were in the top classes. I stayed in the low classes. And this just happened to be who I was with, and that pretty much continued from 7th grade all through the rest of high school. So, I was able to kind of slowly reintegrate back with my white friends through high school, and it wasn't all just me around this extremely hood nonsense. Which also, talk about the power of shoes. Oh my lord. Till I got to middle school, I didn't realize how like basketball shoes were like the fucking hood stock market. Unbelievable. Speculation on Jordans and shit, colorways is like, dude, it's unbelievable. And I get it. I'm wearing fucking Jordans right now. It's stuck with me the rest of my life. And it's like ingrained in my brain that like, nice shoes are power and style. There was this one news story when the Foamposite Galaxies came out.
A DMV classic.
Well, what?
Foam
Foam. We just got the DMV Foamposites with our label on the back because we're such fans of the Foamposites. But the Galaxy Foamposites come out, I don't know, 2010, something weird like that. And they're crazy enough. This is like the craziest moment in shoe history. The Foamposite Galaxies end up selling for like 60 grand, 80 grand on eBay. Just insane numbers that have never been seen before. And there was an interview with a guy on the news. They interview a guy who's waiting in a tent outside of like a Foot Locker, you know? And the woman on the news is like, so you're sleeping outside for a pair of basketball shoes, you know, what's that about? And the guy, he had this quote, and I still think about it all the time because it's such a perfectly succinct, beautiful, packaged line of what explains exactly what the culture is. The guy just looks at the newswoman in the microphone and he goes, if you have the right pair of shoes, you don't have to say anything. And I was like, wow, what a real beautiful thing to say. And it really is like, wow, yeah, if you have the right pair of shoes, it just carries such strange weight and respect, this whole like subculture of fashion that revolves around footwear. But yeah, I get it. I love it. I think it's beautiful. And, you know, it's kind of like you make with what you have, and shoes were the thing. And, you know, Jordan made shoes a thing. And I don't know. It's wild. And, you know, it kind of plays into hip hop fashion as well. And also hip hop fashion was totally created by, you know, old white guys trying to oppress black people. Like, what's it? Baggy pants, baggy jewelry, shiny shit, loud music. It's all against like getting away with anything. You can't run. You have baggy shit on. You're shiny. They can see you from far away. You're loud music. They hear you from far away. You have no advantages with hip hop culture fashion. It was all designed to control you. It's absolutely insane. And I
never thought about that. But
oh
that
yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
I think and I think you know, as the years go on, more people recognizing like how oppressive, and all of hip hop culture fashion is foreign brands. Kanye pointed that out. Like all these black people are spending money on Italian shit, you know, French shit, whatever. Like none of the money is going back to black people. So it's insane how like this was propagated to black people. Like gangster rap is, you know, just meant to keep people in prison, this and that. So, you know, and it's obvious and it's crazy. And the people who are rewarded are the ones who, you know, name drop brands and talk about violence. I mean, dude, the game is just nouns and like adjectives. The game, you know, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Martin, like he's just a string of names. But yeah, so anyways, middle school, you know, integrating with all black kids, being the only white kid, being a novelty, so John Jacobs, Chevy Chase, Tourette's, comedy. Now my audience is all black kids. It's nonstop roasts. I had slip-on shoes in 7th grade. Oh boy, that didn't fly well. He's got the Aladdins on. Look at him. Look at this motherfucker. And the summer before middle school, I was like, oh, I like Dragon Ball Z. I want my wardrobe to be all Dragon Ball Z shirts. I bought 5 Dragon Ball Z shirts. I wore one for every day of the week in school. Like, people didn't know what to think of me. They were like, what the fuck? This is insane. This kid's wild. But eventually, like, you know, they became my friends. They're like, it's kind of cool, whatever. But yeah, so I was always weird. Nothing made sense. I never understood why I needed to learn any of this shit in school. Having Tourette's, I never thought of anything past the day I was living. I still don't think of my future at all. Up until I graduated high school, I never thought of what life would be like past high school because shit was just so hard. I didn't think I'd live past it. There was a handicapped woman who tore tickets at the movie theater. She was like messed up. She could barely control her hand. She would just rip tickets. That was her whole life. And I feel like that was the only person I would look at and I would go, I think that's my future. I'd go, I never thought I'd be able to drive a car. I never thought I'd have a girlfriend. I never thought I'd have any job, really. I felt disabled. I felt strange. I didn't think I'd be able to do anything. But
did you gradually control the not symptoms, but like
the tics? Yeah,
the
they call them tics.
Because you said you wouldn't be able to have even driven a car. So
yeah.
When you were younger, was it worse?
Oh yeah, it was worse. It slowly got better as I went through puberty and went through middle school, high school. And they say that's kind of how it goes sometimes, where like with Tourette's, when you go through puberty, you do get a better handle on it. But yeah, I guess I never kind of grew past that mindset of like, I can't do much, I'm never gonna make it, and I don't know. And I mean, I'm still kind of in this mindset of I don't think about my future. It's really strange.
Would you consider it a positive? Or because in Zen, like Buddhist culture, that what you're explaining is the thing that they want people to reach. But the way you're explaining it is like, it's almost like a negative consequence of a condition.
Yeah, no, I agree where I believe it's good. I believe it is what it is. I have bad vision. I see kind of everything as one picture. I don't really see many details a lot of the time. I do agree. I think it's very Zen, very Buddhist, but I think society and everyone around me has painted it as a negative. But it's a weird deal because like I don't think I'm depressed. Like I feel happy on a regular basis, but I also for a long time and still kind of feel this way of like I'm not worried about death because I've lived exactly how I've wanted every day of my life. And, you know, it's kind of like if I died, you know, it'd be what it is. I don't want to die, but I'm not scared of it. And I live that way accordingly where I'll do some risky stuff. There was a period of like, oh man, and then I'm skipping a lot and I'll go back, but there was a period from like 25 to 27, 28 where I had a convertible and I was hosting comedy shows every night in Florida, and I would get drunk and I would drive home in the convertible and I would have the top down, and there were these long bridges in Tampa, and I would drive over these bridges every night wasted, and I would stand up in the car, I'd put it on cruise control, I'd stand up in the convertible and I'd get on Facebook Live and I would just talk shit on Facebook Live standing in a convertible wasted coming from a comedy show. And I go, fuck yeah, I'm the greatest. Nobody can tell me shit. Whatever. Fuck everybody. And I did this for years. And it was so dangerous. And people would be in the chat and like my friends in real life would be like, we're going to watch you die on Facebook Live. Like, this is insane. But I don't know. There's something so, it's funny to me.
Were you feeling like, not suicidal, but depressive, or was you just like being yourself? Like,
I was just having fun.
Me.
This is just fun to me. And it makes me laugh. I'll do anything to make other people laugh, but I also want to laugh myself. So I'm trying to make myself laugh. So I go, okay, what can I do that I enjoy too? And yeah, standing up in a car wasted is just so funny to me. Because it's like, yeah, you know, I'm like a skinny white dude, but I'm on here like, yeah, I'm the greatest, whatever, man, fuck everything. So yeah, there was like this reckless abandon, and it definitely had made like, I don't know, but girls have been attracted to me over the years because of this quality where they're like, oh wow, like, you know, you just do whatever you want, you're so aloof, but you're calm, and you know, you're not worried about anything. And yeah, so it's like, I think it is an attractive quality to feel, you know, not worried about really anything at all. And I'm still not really worried about anything. I feel like every pressure in my life is coming from people around me. Like I feel perfectly content. I can just like sit in a room in silence for hours and hours. Just, yeah, I still feel disconnected from kind of everything, but I'm passionate about freedom. I'm passionate about, you know, the truth. I'm passionate about anti-corruption in the government. I'd become obsessed with, you know, the lies we've been told and the things.
Likewise.
Yeah, like the older you get and the more that happens around us, the more you go, this is not right. We're being lied to. Even architecture in the world, buildings, you know, I spent 6 months in London this last year, and there's all these buildings there in DC and New York where you go, we didn't make this. I don't believe, look at the fucking subway system. The subway system exists, and then when was the last time we made a new subway line in DC? What did they try to do, the purple line? How long has that taken? 40 years? So you're telling me over 100 years ago, with less technology, less education, less anything, we built these giant grand tube systems?
Are you saying that, because they say this about Egypt, are you saying that aliens just made everything?
It doesn't even need to be aliens. It's just a previous society.
Like, which is already here, and we stumbled upon it.
We inherited it. Yeah, that's why things are called founded. That's why buildings are called founded, because we found them and then built shit around them. I don't believe any of this shit in DC we made. I think most major cities were there, and then we built everything around it, and then the government kind of takes credit for all this shit, and that gives them this air of credibility, where they're like, well, you know, we made all this for all you guys, so you should, you know, you owe us, we did all this. But it's like, you didn't do any of this. There's a reason why every building now looks like shit. and every building hundreds of years ago looks amazing and is still standing. You're saying we've gotten smarter and more technology, but everything's gotten worse?
I've never really thought about that or contemplated the whole founded concept.
Yeah.
Until you just brought that up.
Yeah.
Like they'll say, we founded this.
Yeah, we found
Never
it.
we built
No.
this.
Yeah, and language is everything, and karma is everything. I've never voted. I'm never going to vote in my life because voting is consenting to the system that's in place. And when you vote, you're basically diluting the karma because they're doing terrible things and they know karma is real. The government, they know spiritual energy is real. They know all this 100%. But when 100 million people vote, suddenly the evil deeds are now diluted by 100 million people. There's a reason why the general energy for everyone basically in the world is feeling worse and worse. It's because worse things are happening. So that karma is falling on everyone who's consenting and agreeing to this happening. It just is what it is, and I just can't believe it. And it's crazy, and it makes you feel like there's so much more going on that we don't know about. And I think the best case scenario, I like to call it the Avengers scenario, is that like terrible things are happening, but like they are doing as much as they can to save us from terrible things, and we're just seeing bad shit, but they're like, oh no, you don't understand, like you all could have been poisoned yesterday, but we stopped that shit real quick. So like best case scenario is that much worse shit is being stopped, and all the terrible shit happening now is just like what was able to get through.
I think that's an interesting concept. You're consenting to our karma by
100%.
voting yes for us.
100%.
Because we just did this in the past, but in this present moment you voted yes for it. So now I have the energy and power of all of this voting block that agrees with this karmic debt.
100%. Because you're voting for a person, you're voting for your guy you want to win or whatever, but by voting for your guy, you're consenting to the game and you're agreeing, even if my guy loses, I've still agreed to the system. I've still consented to the process of how it all works by playing the game. So yeah, by doing that, it doesn't matter. That's why like, really the only thing we can ever do is not vote. Not voting is the only answer to ever do anything. Because remember, Puff Daddy, vote or die, even though Puff Daddy's like a CIA asset who's now a fucking rapist and a violent, probably murderer, killed Tupac and all that shit. But yeah, so voting is just consenting. That's why they don't give a shit about Trump. They don't give a shit about anybody. Where like, in reality, people will be like, oh, if Trump was like so crazy, wouldn't they like try to stop him? Wouldn't they try to kill him? No, they don't give a shit. They love it. They love that Trump's getting people to vote. All that matters is voting. Every other market in the world, they go, hey, let the market decide. If you don't like something, don't do it. But voting is the only thing where they tell you, even if you don't like it, you have to vote. You have to vote. Anything else, they go, hey, you don't like it, don't spend your money. Voting is the only system where they want you to do it no matter what. They will never tell you not to vote. So anyways, like I was saying, what am I, 14, 15 now? So get through middle school, terrible grades, not positively productive friends. I'm still the funny kid. I've won over, it went from all the white kids to all the black kids. Now I'm just the funny white kid among the black kids. Something else that has kind of fucked me up and I still think about and has probably done damage that I'm still working through. Because I was the funny kid amongst black kids in all these classes, they were acknowledging I was funny, but black kids don't say you're funny. When I was funny in all these classes, the black kids, they'd go, boy, you stupid. Boy, you crazy. Boy, you dumb as hell. This motherfucker's crazy. This motherfucker's stupid as hell. They didn't say I was funny. It was all, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're crazy. And, the fact that turned out to be true is just a coincidence. But yeah, it was never like, you're funny. They never, which is a weird, like, maybe power dynamic where it's like, by consenting someone is funny, you're giving them power, which I get. So that part of the culture was very, guarded of like, I'm not going to even tell you you're funny because that's now making myself vulnerable to you. So I'm just going to call you stupid, which is an insult. But so they were trying to be nice, but the vocabulary was, this motherfucker's dumb as hell. This motherfucker's crazy as shit. So that's all I heard through like these middle school years. So I was like, oh wow, am I just like a dumb, crazy, stupid motherfucker? Like what the hell? And I've learned in later years, I go, oh, well, that's just how they would acknowledge my humor.
Yeah, culturally, like me being a black person, that's what I had to experience my entire, and even me being a black person, it's like, yo, like I'll be like smart, they'd be like, you're a geek or this or that. It's never like you're very intelligent.
No,
it's
never.
like, oh, you're funny, you're stupid. If you're smart, oh, you're a nerd. It's like, can you just tell me I'm intelligent?
Can it ever be an actual compliment? It has to be some spin where they still have the power of like, nah, you dumb, you stupid motherfucker. Like, but yeah, so that definitely, and also something humorous just about the culture of that roasting and shit and this and that is like all these roasts would just turn into like the most basic, like, look at this little shirt wearing face ass motherfucker. Little 2 shoes on shirt wearing ass bitch. Like, okay, yeah, I'm wearing, look, this motherfucker got a shirt on. Yeah. Like the most unbelievably funny, simple, but that's crushing, you know? The crowd's like, ah, ha, ha, yeah. It's like, he just said I have shoes on. Give me a break. But yeah, who would have ever thought that like ass motherfucker would like replace any noun? This little stupid little bitch ass motherfucker, this stupid ass bitch ass motherfucker. But yeah, so that was that was middle school, and then high school, 9th grade, 10th grade, terrible grades. I was on JV football, did terrible. Kids killing me every day. Skinny kid just getting blasted in football practice every day, awful. But yeah, so bad grades through all of this time, and I don't remember. My brother's 5 years older, so he's probably gone to college at one of these points. He's bounced around to many colleges and many places. He moved to Florida at first to try to become a mechanic with his high school girlfriend. That didn't work. He went to a community college in New York. He eventually went to college at Georgetown and GW or something. I don't even remember. I think he went to four colleges, maybe 5, and he still had his problems. We weren't very close or well connected. I just tried to leave him alone. I think he left me alone too at this point, and then yeah, so sophomore year, Christmas passes. We're halfway through the year now, and then February of my sophomore year of high school, I'm now 16. And February 2nd, my mom kills herself. She had taken care of the family forever. She had taken care of my brother forever. I was talking with my dad about it at dinner the other night. He had found some old files and notes my mom had kept and had realized how stressed she had been this whole time. And I go, yeah, I mean, she killed herself. Clearly it was weighing on her. But yeah, so my mom, who had been a community leader her entire life, big in the church, she would tutor kids at my middle school and I think high school. All my friends knew her. Everybody loved her. She was the nicest person in the world. No one would ever say anything bad about her. She never said anything bad about anyone. Just, yeah, beloved by the whole community. Yeah, she killed herself. I got home from school. Nobody was there. I had a voicemail on my phone that I got while I was in class, maybe my 3rd or 4th period. And it was my mom saying she wasn't going to be home after school and like I should go hang out at my friend's house, which I normally did anyway. So I went and hung out at my friend's house, which I would normally do. But then, the time came around 4, 5, or 6 p.m. where it's like, okay, time to go home. And I would usually call my house and my mom would pick up and she'd come pick me up from my friend's house. And yeah, this day she didn't pick up. And even in the moment, I, for some reason, made a joke. I'm always making jokes. I'm with my friends at their house. And my mom doesn't pick up the phone and I go, oh, she didn't pick up. Maybe she's dead. And I walk home and, now it's 7 o'clock. This is strange. Maybe by 7 or 8 o'clock, I just start looking around the house. And I go into my parents' bedroom and I see an envelope on the bed, and I kind of know immediately, like, this must be bad. And I look at the note in the envelope, and it's my mom, and she's saying that she just like can't do it anymore. There's a line in there about like she can live with an empty mind, but she can't live with an empty body. And I always thought maybe those were supposed to be reversed. But yeah, she said, I can live with an empty mind, but I can't live with an empty body. and I didn't know where she was or what was going on, and I just kind of looked around the house, and I was getting worried, like, okay, I'll go into my parents' bathroom, maybe she's dead in there, but she's not in the house. And then more time goes by, and I just don't do anything. I think I'm in shock. I'm like, I'm on instant message. I'm still like looking at shit on the internet. And eventually one of my mom's friends comes over, because I guess she was coming to like check on her. My mom hadn't even been depressed, really. My mom had been okay. She had only been depressed for like a few weeks, and she had taken antidepressants, and the antidepressants had the opposite effect and immediately made her kill herself. But so mom's friend comes over. I give her the note. I just like hand it to her, and she's like, oh no, boy, okay. She calls the cops. Police come over. Now there's just cops in the house, and it's me with her and the cops. And they don't know what to do. They're looking around. My dad's out of town. My brother's in college in DC somewhere. And yeah, so I'm in the house by myself for a while with all these strangers. And eventually my dad gets home, maybe at 9 o'clock, something like that. He was in New York. And he's, clearly worried and startled. And he goes to the house phone, and he sees there's a voicemail. And he listens to the voicemail, and I get it's my mom. And I don't know what she says, but then my dad sits down and puts a pillow over his face and starts crying hard. And he says that she said, like, she's driven to this trail that we used to hike, and that she was going to go for one more swim because she liked to swim. And so they go out. My brother's showing up. Everybody's crying. Our priest shows up now too. She was big in a church, so the church pastor shows up, and my brother, first thing he asks the priest is, he goes, if she killed herself, is she still going to go to heaven? And of course the pastor's like, yeah, she was great. Like, what the fuck else is he going to say in this moment? No, she's going to hell. But yeah, of course he's like, yeah, she's going to go to heaven. Okay, great. But so they're like, okay, let's go to the place she drive to, and let's see if we can find her. So they leave. I don't want to go. I stay in the house by myself. And then, yeah, they eventually come back, and they say that they found her body washed up by the side of this trail. I guess she had gone swimming until she didn't want to anymore, and then she just let herself drown. So she let herself drown, and then her body washed up on the thing. And yeah, and I just, I still don't really understand. It's so rough. She was everything to our family. I wasn't particularly close with my dad or my brother at the time. There was a period when I was maybe like 8 or 9 when I just didn't even talk at all. And I would only talk through 1 and 2. Like 1 meant yes and 2 meant no. I just did that for a while. But yeah, so my mom took her life. I missed a couple days of school. And yeah, we had the funeral, and there was more people than I've ever seen anywhere because she was so loved. And yeah, so after that, it kind of felt even more disconnected from life and the world, because name's John Jacobs, from Chevy Chase. I have Tourette syndrome. I'm in all the lowest classes. I'm just the funny kid, and now the only person I felt like, I truly loved or care about is gone. And I was so defensive in my own life, and I still am, but it was so bad when I never really told my parents that I loved them, because I was so scared of my own love being used against me as a vulnerability. So I feel like I never told my mom I really loved her past maybe childhood, because I was so scared of love being used against me or anything being used against me. My parents couldn't punish me because nothing they would do would affect me. I remember one time I was a little, and I had all these Legos built up, and my mom was like, if you don't, do your homework, if you don't study, if you don't read, we're going to take your Legos away. And I just destroyed all my Legos. And I said, oh, go look. And she saw all my Legos were destroyed. And yeah, I made it clear that they couldn't punish me in any way. Because if I'm grounded, if you can't go out, I go, great, okay, whatever.
This ties into the like you not wanting to have authority because
Yeah.
you already feel so restricted.
100%.
So anytime or any chance you get the ability to rebel, you'll do it.
100%. Yeah, because Tourette's was so brutal and I have such little power over my life already, any authority I will not let control me at all. And so, yeah, and I can, I'm very aware and recognize that these are like, psychopathic tendencies, but I know I'm able to rationalize this so well because I know that no one else can feel the mental agony I go through 24 hours a day. So I just know that if anyone else could feel what I'm feeling, that they would act the same way. Because I have no physical control. I need to have some control over my life. And if that's externally with, not letting authority control me, that's how it's going to be. And because I was funny, I was mostly able to get away with it in school because I made the teacher laugh too. I'd make all the kids laugh, I'd make the teacher laugh, and if the teacher laughs, you don't get in trouble because they're laughing too. So, I knew that with my power of humor, I could kind of live this life I was living. Even getting bad grades, I'd still get barely passable enough because I think I'm a naturally, adept person, if that's even the right word. But I think I'm naturally smart enough where I could get through whatever. And, I took like aptitude tests when I was a child and they'd go, oh, this kid could be a genius if he focused on studying or whatever. But they've always said I've had the ability to do anything I've ever wanted. And teachers have always said I was a natural leader in the class because everyone would look to me for the humor. So I could do anything. I could run the classroom through comedy, which was wonderful. But yeah, I just never did anything I didn't want to do.
I want to ask you, so earlier on you were speaking about how you don't really think about the future, you don't really think about the past. You're kind of like just in the moment.
Yeah.
Do you think this perspective, your mentality, do you think that helps with your mom's passing to not think about it, or do you think that's the one thing that you do ponder on or reflect on?
The not thinking about the future in regards to my mom's death. I mean, even as you say it right now, I guess I've never thought about in my life what it would be like to become an adult without a mother. And I'm 34 now. I had to think about that. I'm 34 and I still have never thought I'm a 34-year-old without a mom. I've never had that thought in my life. And even just recently, I guess it would have been 32, that was the first time I had the thought where I went, oh wow, past February 2nd or I guess it would have been, I was born in September, whatever the math is, past a certain time when I was 32, I go, okay, wow, now I've lived over half of my life without a mom. So that was an interesting moment for me where I went, okay, now a majority of my life now is without a mother. So I'm now 34, and yeah, so it's been 18 years without a mother. And I don't know, I don't think about it much. And I think it's because I was already so disconnected from people, family at 16 that losing my mom, to lose the only person you care about, there's also a sense of liberation where it's like, well, now there's no one I could hurt. There's no one I can disappoint. There's no one who I can let down. There's no one has power over me. My mom, I feel like, was the only person who could have power over me. I don't think my dad has power over me. I mean, I love my dad. I want him to be happy. We don't connect that well. He likes golf. He's an insurance lawyer who's recently retired. There's been very little over our lives that we've bonded over. Wizards basketball.
Is he still living?
Yeah, my dad's still living. He's 70, I think 70 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lost the mom 16, feel completely disconnected from everything. But so having Tourette's, my parents made me go to a therapist when I was 9 or 10, really young, which just didn't make any sense. I didn't get it at all. especially because, like, I don't know, therapy is supposed to be like this personal secret thing or whatever. But my therapist, because I'm a child, I would tell this whatever the hell I'm thinking at the time. I didn't even have any like real shit to think about. I'm a child. I don't know what I'm even talking to a therapist about. But I talk to him, and then, you know, my mom goes in and listens to the therapist. It's like, okay, I don't really understand what's going on here. What are you just telling him everything I just told you? It was a really weird process. But so I lose my mom's life. I lose. It's all about me. That's so bad. I hate it too because, like, I feel so narcissistic or self-centered because, like, even when I describe my mom's death, I always say, like, my mom died when I was 16. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, how old was your mom? And I'm like, I don't know, 50s. I think my mom was 51. But yeah, like, even I catch myself all the time where it's like, why does it have to revolve around me? I mean, I know we only live life through our perspective, but I feel guilty anytime I say, like, my mom died when I was 16. It's like, she died. Like, I'm alive. Why am I making it about how old I was? But yeah, so my mom dies, and so my dad is like, oh, do you want to go see that therapist that we sent you to when you were a kid and you had Tourette's? And I go, okay, sure. I'll go see him. So I go see the therapist, and the first thing I say to him is, I go, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. I'm 16, and now I've decided. And I think it was something about, like, okay, losing the most important person in my life, I kind of knew that it made me feel like now anything could happen at any moment. Because that was such a crazy thing no one saw coming, for my mom to kill herself. There was just no sign that something like that could ever happen to our family. So from that moment, I was like, okay, everything can end at any moment. So I'm not going to live any moment not doing exactly what I want to do. So from that moment, I was like, okay, I know I'm funny. I know I make people laugh. Comedy, stand-up comedy, that's what I have to do. That's what I'm going to do. And yeah, so I just spent that one therapy session. I never saw him again, but I just spent that one therapy session talking about how I'm going to be a stand-up comedian, talking about how I'm going to make it happen. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And yeah, thinking of details of my mom's death, like, you know, it's been so long, and, you know, I feel like I don't get too caught up about it much anymore. I mean, I feel bad because I believe it was the day before she killed herself. She asked me if I wanted to play Scrabble, and I said no. And so that, you know, will haunt me forever, to think, oh, I didn't do a thing with my mom the last day she was alive. What the fuck? And the last words to my mom, she was sending me off to school that day. I would get a ride from a friend's brother to the high school. And as I was leaving the house, I said to my mom, I said, get excited, the OC is on tonight, which was a TV show on Fox that her college friend starred on, Peter Gallagher. So yeah, the last thing I ever said to my mom was, get excited, the OC is on tonight. And so wild enough, this is actually insane here. So I missed that episode of the OC that night, obviously, because my mom killed herself. That'd be a dedicated fan to watch it anyway. But so I missed this one episode of the OC. You know, I continue to watch the others with my dad. That was like the one TV show I'd watch with my dad and my mom. My brother was already out the house. We watched the OC every week. And so then later, eventually, you know, after time had passed, I'm able to go back and I go, let's see the one episode of the OC that I missed. And the one episode of the OC I missed on the day that my mom killed herself was an episode where a boy accidentally kills himself. It's unbelievable. So it's really strange, you know, stuff like that where you're like, wow, the one episode we miss, someone accidentally kills himself. So, and it's like, you know, it's like by a cliff on a beach, like near water. You know, the trail where my mom killed herself was like a cliff near a river. So who knows? Like maybe she decided she would have not killed herself in the moment.
She watched that episode?
No, that was the one we missed.
Okay.
It was on that night. She killed herself that morning. Or that afternoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a weird thing. But yeah, it does break my heart to think like, oh, I didn't play Scrabble with my mom the last day she was alive. And yeah, there was left.
I don't want to cut you off, but we can't harken on that because there's a lot of things where it's like, you know, you'll get into that rabbit hole of things.
Yeah, I can move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know that we're going past time. But yeah. So anyways.
No, I'm just talking about you personally about. You shouldn't feel
in my life.
bad about it.
Yeah. I try not to like.
Yeah.
I try not to think about it much, and I do try to be conscious of like, am I living in a way that my mom would like? Am I, you know, she was so charitable. I feel bad I don't really do charity, but I you know, well, I've done a few nice things. I bought my best friend a car. That was nice. And you know, I make people laugh a lot still through my content and my stand-up. You know, that always feels like a good service because I do a lot of that for free as well. But so yeah, bringing joy into people's lives I think is super important, and using the ability I have to make people laugh is important. So yeah, mom dies at 16. I start to get good grades now. I get the best grades I've ever gotten the semester after she's died. I'm definitely being a better person now, which is, you know, such a shame that that's what it took. But yeah, I'm getting better grades. I'm being a better person overall, I believe. And yeah, I graduate high school. I've, you know, had kind of my first real girlfriend at like my senior year. I had other ones before, but it didn't really feel like a relationship. My first girlfriend, I go into college. I get into the University of Tampa. I moved to Florida. And yeah, you know, I'm still just kind of myself, still the funny guy. I do stand up all through college. I graduate college. And I'm just like, I want to do stand up. I'm able to get a headlining gig the week out of my first week out of college. Nobody shows up. I get paid half the money for showing up. I drove like 3 hours to go somewhere and nobody showed up. It happens twice. Same venue, they rebook me. I go back again, nobody shows up. I get paid half the money. I'm like, is this what my life is going to be like? I just drive to a venue, nobody's there, and I get paid half the money. So that's the beginning of my comedy career after college. But yeah, I'm living with a girlfriend and just, you know, barely surviving or whatever. And then I applied for The Real World on MTV and I didn't get it. But I get a call later that there's a new reality TV show and they want me to be a part of it. So I go, okay. And they go, we're not going to tell you much, but it's like a dating thing and it's in Hawaii. I go, okay. So I go to Hawaii and literally the first episode of the show, while they're filming, they tell us what the show is, which is hilarious. Like this host comes out and he's like, so you guys are bad at dating, huh? And everybody's like, yeah, we're bad at it. And I'm like, I wasn't told this. What are we talking about? But yeah, so he's like, so you guys are going to try to find love and share $1 million. And I'm like,
did you tell them that you were bad at dating?
No.
They just assume.
They just assume. Yeah, they just say, you're bad at dating. And I'm like, who told you this?
Who told you this
But yeah, so it's this weird kind of game where you date on a mansion in Hawaii and there's challenges and, you know, dates and shit. And it's a lot of fun. And I get trashed every night. And I'm having a great time and I'm being myself. I'm doing exactly what I want. Everyone else is super self-conscious. They're like, do I look hot here? Am I going to come off as cool? You know, are people going to like me or whatever? And I'm just doing whatever I want. I'm being hilarious. I'm dressing crazy. There's a moment where the executive producer is going around the house and he's talking to every cast member. And he's going up to people like, maybe you should, you know, play into this a little bit. Maybe you should style this up a little bit. He comes up to me and he goes, you're perfect. He goes, keep doing whatever you're doing. You're nailing it. And I'm like, there you go. I go, exactly. I'm the fucking greatest. And I think there was something that helped me a lot about that kind of disconnect or being tied to anything too much, because I was able to go in this completely foreign situation to everyone and just immediately feel like home, because I didn't feel like I had anything anyway. So coming here, you know, my first thoughts are like, free rent, free food. I'm on an island. This is the greatest time of my life. Like other people in the cast are like crying and like bitching, oh, I can't talk on the phone to my family. Oh, this is hard. And I'm like, this is the greatest life is ever going to be. So I enjoy it to its full potential. And yeah, I kind of become like a breakout star on this reality show. And I'm able to start touring colleges around the country doing stand-up. And it's, you know, it's pretty much a dream come true.
What is this reality show called?
This TV show is called Are You the One? And it was on MTV, and it was the first season. It was a brand new show. They go on to do 8 seasons of the show. I'm able to do like an after show with them. There's like live stuff. And so, yeah, I did like, I guess it would have been maybe 12 episodes with the reunion and then another show, another thing. So an after show, 13. And yeah.
How was the experience being in reality TV? Because I know reality TV now, well, back then it was a thing, of course, but it's like you see the reemergence of reality TV.
Yeah.
You know, you had the Kardashians, but now it's coming back full force. How would you describe like the experience of, and I know you said, you know, this should be the life, I'm rent free, but the inner experience of it, like the day-to-day things, you know, and because I've seen some clips, but I try not to watch reality TV.
Yeah.
You know, especially when I was younger. Now I watch it sometime here and there.
Yeah.
So how's like the inner workings of being on a reality TV show?
Being on a reality TV show, they let me wake up whenever I want. There's about 3 big cameras that would roam around the house, and there was cameras in like the corners of the rooms, and they'd give us pretty much whatever food we wanted to cook in the kitchen, and there was just tons of alcohol in every room. There was handles of vodka in the bathroom.
Supplied to you all.
Oh yeah, they really wanted you to be trashed. They wanted you to be loose. They wanted you to be vulnerable. They wanted you to be angry, stressed out. They wanted you to feel everything very extremely, and they didn't want anything to exist outside of the experience, outside of the house, which was very funny to me. And like one other guy who felt the same way of like, we were able to recognize the whole time how ridiculous all this stuff, because people would be fighting and screaming of like, we gotta get the matches and get them in the truth booth. And we're like, this isn't real, guys. We're like, this is a show. Like,
have you seen The Truman Show?
Yeah.
Did it feel like that?
Yeah, it felt like shit like that. Like, I'm like, the truth booth isn't a real thing, guys. Like, this is a game they made up. But people are like, we need to get the matches or we're not gonna, we gotta switch around this thing and that and that. So yeah, it totally worked for these people. These people are now, nothing exists outside of the game, which is what they loved. And yeah, so people become crazy. And yeah, everybody on the show is just a drunk mess the whole time. And I'm having a blast. I don't care about anything because, again, I feel like I have nothing to lose. I don't have anything going on in my life. You know, I'm doing stand-up and I've had some cool gigs and, you know, I've met some of my heroes, which is really cool. But yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not famous or anything. Nothing's going on. But yeah, I mean, reality TV, executive producers, all the producers, they're trying to manipulate you. Sure, whatever. Like the one-on-one interviews, shit like this, they'll be like, so this person said this thing and that probably got you pretty mad, didn't it? So they want you to go, yeah, I was pissed. Made me mad. And they'd go, and then they'd want you to like even structure sentences. They'd be like, would you say it made you crazy? And you go, yeah, it made me crazy. And then they'd just pull that part, whatever. It was great. I got a good cut, but they try to manipulate the footage as best they can. And they tried to fuck me a couple times, which was hilarious and whatever, those pieces of shit. I guess I get the industry now. There was one moment, I'm doing an interview like this. It's not even an interview. This is the confessional camera. This is the one that you turn on and you say whatever you want and then they use the footage. I'm in there because some girl's just like yelling at me or whatever. So I go in to the confessional and I say to the camera, I go, wouldn't it be funny if I was just like, I'm a piece of shit, I do whatever I want, I manipulate people. And what they show is just me going, I'm a piece of shit. I manipulate people. And I go, what happened to the beginning part where I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if I was like that?
Sounds a lot like mainstream media to me.
100%. Stuff out of context. You just have to be ready for anything you say to be used against you. Yeah, it's like getting arrested. Like, whatever you say will and can be used against you.
Now, it gets in a court of law, but I want to ask this, right? So I've seen a clip, and it seemed like, and this is just like a personal, selfish question when I thought about reality TV, right? Mm-hmm. Is, when you like find the love and things like that, is it real? Like, because you're spending quite a lot of time there. Or is that a part of the, I wouldn't say script, but the part of the suggestive nature of reality TV?
Yeah, a lot of people on these dating reality shows, love will be fake. And I felt strong feelings for a girl in the house. And I do also think a big part of that, though, is because we've been stuck in a house together for so long, where there's there's no clocks, there's no TV, there's no anything. You're not allowed to do anything but interact. So I think a big part of my feelings was being stuck in the house with this girl, where if it was regular life, I'd probably move on. I wouldn't care too much. But yeah, I definitely felt real feelings for a girl in the house at times. But yeah, a lot of people fake it, though, for the cameras. So some people it's real, some people it's fake. I mean, it feels like, yeah, it's the same way kind of with anything in life, business, industries, where there's people who will do anything to get ahead. And that's the exact same thing in reality TV, same thing in all of entertainment industry. So there were moments where, like, there was a part on the reunion show where a guy left because the girl like threw a drink on him and he was like, I'm not doing this anymore, and he just left. And one of the other castmates, he tells me in the interview with him, he goes, they told me to say that the guy who left just called me and like he's on a plane leaving. He goes, so I was like, yeah, he just called me. He said he's on a plane leaving. And I go, and you did that? He goes, yeah. And I go, but the guy didn't do that. And he goes, whatever, screen time. He just wanted airtime. And he knew that if he did what they said, they'd put him on TV. So yeah, the same way people are willing to lie in any part of life for personal gain, there's people on reality TV who will just straight up lie if the producers say this, and we'll give you more airtime. So yeah, I got to see stuff like that firsthand. And yeah, so there's a lot of manipulating being done, and it's just kind of like, being aware of it and being able to navigate through that and away from it. So yeah, so reality TV was awesome for me in that first show. Got to do a bunch of colleges. And then I got called to do a second show called The Challenge, which is kind of like the reality all-star people, and it's much more cutthroat. You get kicked off much faster. It's a more intense competition. And before I got on that show, I was in a relationship, and I was living with the girl, and I did a show somewhere, and I got text messages after the show from someone who was like, I want to hook up with you. And I'm like, okay. And the person never showed up. And then the next day or something, that's like in an online tabloid. And it's like, John Jacobs cheats on his girlfriend. Here's the proof. And I'm like, what the hell? And my girlfriend sees this, is like, oh my, what the fuck? This is terrible. This and that. And we think it's like a stalker who's stalking my girlfriend. So I reach out to the website that published the thing, and I'm like, hey, this wasn't a real person. Like, I didn't even meet anybody. I don't know what this is. Like, I think it's a stalker. And the person goes, the person who sent me these text message screenshots claimed to be an executive from MTV, and it looked really legit. So then I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, is MTV trying to ruin my relationship so I go back into this other TV show single? They want me single, so they're trying to ruin my relationship now. And yeah, so that made me paranoid forever. And that kind of showed me like, okay, so, when millions and billions of dollars are involved in anything, there's going to be much higher levels of, corruption and manipulation. Whereas like, I wouldn't have assumed ever that an executive for the network that I was going to work for would try to ruin my personal relationship because it would bring them more entertainment on a future reality show. But it seems like that's exactly what was going on. And I had seen similar stories of like anonymous text messages reaching out to reality cast members that are trying to destroy their relationship. So you know, that added a whole nother level of craziness to life where I was like, okay, wow.
So this person was sent, and
I don't think it was a real person. It was someone on the staff of MTV or Viacom, and they were told send messages to John pretending to be somebody, catfish him.
That's scary.
Oh yeah, it was terrifying to think about that. To think there is no end to which they'll, you know, potentially try to fuck my life up.
Yeah.
And so I did the second TV show, and on the first TV show, one couple ends up getting married on Are You the One? And then the second TV show, The Challenge, 2 cast members die shortly after filming, one kind of during filming. But yeah, one girl had cancer and it came back after she did an eating challenge on the show. And another cast member's like, she's not supposed to eat peanut butter. I see the girl like laying in the bathroom that night in like 2, 3 a.m. curled up. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, oh, I'm fine. And like tries to run out of the room. But she goes to the hospital, never comes back, dies. And then a second guy on the show, he overdoses on Thanksgiving and dies. And it was just such an unhealthy environment, this reality show. And yeah, so I kind of talk about this. And I go on like some local podcasts. And I'm like, yeah, super unhealthy environment. It was definitely conducive to these people dying. And I think MTV heard that and they never spoke to me again, and I never got back on MTV. And I feel like I've kind of been blacklisted from kind of all of entertainment. I can't get an agent. I can't get back on TV no matter what I do. I've applied for a million things. Nothing's happening. Nobody wants me.
I mean, how many properties does Viacom own? They own a lot of properties, correct?
Well, I know Viacom is MTV and Comedy Central at least. But yeah, so Viacom is a big, you know, multi-billion-dollar corporation. And yeah, so it could be as simple as, you know, I badmouthed one TV show and said, hey, you know, they potentially killed these people. And, you know, I shouldn't have done that, I guess. But, you know, I was still in the mindset of like, I'm always just going to say whatever I'm thinking and feeling. And I think I'm still mostly in that mindset, but I can recognize like, okay, well, if you can potentially ruin all of your opportunities, maybe don't trash the organization that could potentially help you get back on TV, at least until you have more power. But yeah, so, you know, I messed up in this instance, and yeah, so I haven't been back on MTV, and I have no idea if I'll ever be back on television. I hope so one day. I mean, I'm never going to give up.
I think you will.
Thank you.
I think you will. I've seen your specials.
Thanks.
And if there's any correlation, I think even this, like, I believe so.
Thanks, man.
That lady said I call her a
36.
psychologist. What psychic?
Yeah, the psychic said 36.
36.
Yeah, so I'm close.
Yeah. I
Thanks, man. I hope so. And yeah, you never know who will see the right thing. I mean, it's wild because I've been a content creator for like really like 18 years now. Before I even did stand-up, I had like done sketch and shit. But yeah, I've been a content creator for about 18 years. I've made about 1,500 videos. And out of my 1,500 videos, 26 videos have gotten over 1 million views. And you know, that's cool to think you have 26 videos that have done so well. You know, the biggest one got 9.3 million views on TikTok, which was nice. But so I know I have the ability to create great popular content, and everything I make, I love. I love everything I make. I laugh at everything I've made still. I'll watch old stuff. It kills me. But I know a lot of it's being, I don't know, suppressed in the algorithm or whatever. A lot of people don't see it. Maybe, you know, if you can't hook somebody in the first split seconds, they won't watch the rest. I'm not famous enough for people to give me credibility to watch for, you know, multiple seconds at a time. So, yeah, I'm still creating. I've done comedy music. I do tons of sketch. I do tons of stand-up. Podcasts. I feel like I've done every facet of entertainment outside of like stage plays and theater. I do the public performances as well. But yeah, I'm never going to give up. And I do have this like, I don't know, like the way I feel disconnected from the world, I feel so connected to myself and my ability that like I feel like I know I have like just this like once in a universe talent or this perspective or this comedic sensibility. Someone put it to me years ago, a comedian in my scene who was kind of like, you know, seen as like the best comedian, the most successful guy in town. He saw me and he was like, "You should be funnier than all of us by far." And he said because you have a higher threshold for comedy. And I agree in the sense of like I will do anything for comedy. There is no boundary, there is no limit that I don't think I would cross. If I think something's funny, I'll go further than anyone, which is kind of the way I've been doing public performances. Like I wore a suit with a amp on a backpack in the ocean doing stand-up. You know, I'm doing stand-up on trains and all these places where you wouldn't see stand-up. But I'm trying to show that I'm willing to do much more than anyone else would ever do for comedy, to be seen and, you know, and be, you know, enjoyed. And yeah, and I am kind of transitioning. I did for a long time just see myself as a comedian, as a stand-up. But one of the psychics was like, "You're more of a producer, really." She was like, "You're going to be a famous producer." And then I started thinking like, oh, maybe I shouldn't like put myself in a box as just a stand-up. And I really do see myself just as like an artist. Now, I think I'm just an overall artist. I'm just a creator. I like to create.
I can see you in the films. And that brings me to Jesus Talks.
Yeah.
I watched, I don't know if it was the entire special, but you had like YouTube clips of the performances doing stand-up. Mm-hmm. Now, with that, you being so outside of the box and so brass in how you would just do whatever, did you get blowback from that, from like the religious communities, or how was that it was funny to me, and being a Christian, I took no offense to it, but how was that received for you?
Yeah, so I've done 2 stand-up specials as Jesus. One was called Jesus Talks. The other one was called Dying on the Cross, where I told the story of Easter while hanging from a 10-foot cross in public. And I believe in Jesus. I believe in God, which is why I'm confident to talk about those things, because I know I'm doing it from a standpoint of, you know, love and curiosity and entertainment and education. I'm not doing it from a place of, this is dumb, I'm ridiculing it. So because I believe in that stuff, I believe in energy, I believe in the universe, I know I would be protected, I know I would be safe making something like this, because I'm doing it with great intentions and admiration and respect. But yeah, from like an average religious person, they were very offended. But I did the act in church. I did the act in front of a priest when I was hanging in public. And yeah, I think people who are secure in their spirituality, they had no problem with me doing comedy as Jesus, because they were watching the material, they were watching the content. They recognized that I wasn't being disrespectful. I was being nice, polite, and welcoming and family friendly. There were children sitting around me while I was doing it in public. So yeah, I think people who are, you know, past kind of that middle area of like almost like the brainwashed, oppressed religious, you know, mindset, everyone beyond that loved it. And everyone was like, this is great. But yeah, average religious people were like, blasphemy, you know, I would have killed you and I would have fucking attacked you in public. But, you know, everyone who witnessed it in public enjoyed it. There was no one who saw it in public who didn't like what I was doing there. So yeah, I was very confident and happy with the way both of those Jesus specials came out.
Now, digging into comedy, since we're on this topic, did you have any comedic inspirations, or was it solely just like you being this novelty of a person, which you are, and since we've met, I can attest to that. Was this the only thing that cultivated the comedic chops, or did you have an inspiration source for it?
Well, great question. Thank you. Yeah, I being the funny kid, I think when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I learned what a stand-up comedian was. And I think I recognized immediately that I could potentially be part of this. It was, I was either 9 or 10 when Dana Carvey's, what's it called? Something Critic's Choice by Dana Carvey came out. I guess it would have been 1990 something. Well, maybe I might have been 6 or 7. But it was the first stand-up I'd ever seen, and it was Dana Carvey. And I just remembered he was wearing comfortable pants. And that stuck in with me so much. Another thing about me with the Tourette's, I've been told I also have a thing called tactile defensiveness, which is I'm very sensitive to all material and touch of anything on me. And literally up until high school, I never wore jeans. It was all sweatpants. It was all very comfortable clothing. The t-shirt I'm wearing right now is very soft. The pants I'm wearing right now are very soft. I'm super sensitive to touch. I need everything I'm wearing to be comfortable, or I just won't function. I don't know if that plays into the Tourette's. I don't know if that's why I'm so sensitive, but it's wild where like if a lot of factors with my physical aren't okay, I can't work or be productive. But so I saw Dana Carvey on TV being funny, and he was wearing comfortable pants and a t-shirt, and it was the first time I had seen like an adult like being admired by a giant group of people in a theater, and he was dressed comfortably. And that blew my mind, because I was like, oh wow, like it's possible to dress comfortable but still be like a famous, respected adult. So that really stuck with me immediately, and I thought he was so funny. He did musical comedy at the end as well. His bits, all of it is still so funny to me. I could watch it at any moment. But Dana Carvey was my first stand-up comedic inspiration. And then when I was around 10 to 12, it was a guy named Pablo Francisco, who had a very popular Comedy Central Presents half hour where he did noises. He also wore very comfortable clothing, and it was so silly and it was so funny, and that just turned something on as well. So it went Dana Carvey, Pablo Francisco, then Tom Green with all of his in the street stuff, his silly, crazy, abstract attitude. I'd never seen anything like that before. It was so counterculture. It was unbelievable. Then there was Greg Giraldo, who is a former lawyer who did smart political stuff. He had a great voice, just very powerful, very cool. Made me see comedy as a cool thing. And then George Carlin, who did tons of political, but had such a wonderful rhythm, such a wonderful physical. It felt like music. It felt like nursery rhymes almost, the way he would do such serious topics about political corruption and make people cheer and scream for him. And he was just the smartest person in the world, I felt like. So yeah, those 5 people really inspired and drove me. And I try to do material now that I believe would make those people proud, that they would like. And yeah, I think I'm doing a pretty good job with that most of the time. But yeah, so those are my inspirations.
I feel like George Carlin was like the comedy Alex Jones. Like his shit was like, yeah, they will call it conspiracy theory nowadays.
Yeah.
But everything that he was talking about has come to pass.
Yeah, everything George Carlin was saying was founded in reality. And yes, it sounded like crazy at the time, but yeah, the country's one big club with owners and you're not in it, like all true. Religion is, being used to manipulate people to get money from you. God, all powerful, omnipotent, just can't handle money, needs money.
Now, John, I have a quote, right?
Okay.
And I want you to tell me how much truth do you think is in this quote?
Okay.
So, humorist, I don't know why they say humorist. I don't know what's the difference between comedy or humorist. But
yeah.
Humorist Irma Bumbeck has this quote where she says, "There is a thin line that separates laughter and pain, comedy and tragedy, humor and hurt." Do you feel there's any truth to this?
Oh, for sure. I mean, because a lot of the things George Carlin is saying are dire and dark and urgent and sad, but he's able to juxtapose it with some sort of exaggeration or some sort of metaphor or light, whatever, simile, wordplay, something that makes it funny. So it really is. And I caught myself recently. I did a set a couple days ago where I was talking about, the topic itself, I was talking about the chosen people, and like, because that's a phrase that the Jewish people use. They claim that they're the chosen people. And then I was saying, well, I feel like the Arabs are the chosen people because they were born on top of trillions of dollars worth of oil. You know, like that feels pretty chosen. You know, everyone in America is like, you know, it's $12 for eggs. And over there, they're like, should we build another artificial ski resort in the middle of the desert because we have so much excess money that we can literally do whatever the fuck we want at all times? Like that feels pretty chosen. So even like saying some of these topics, I catch myself and I get worried where I'm like, oh, sometimes I'm worried I'm just making statements that are like good points. And it is like kind of heavy or dark. And I don't want it to be a bummer. I don't want it to be a downer. So, you know, I try to consciously figure out ways to tell these things in a light way so people don't feel like they're being lectured or preached at, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm like, this is a comedy show. Like, people are here to have fun. Mm-hmm. So it is a tough deal trying to do heavy topics in a way that's fun and entertaining. But yeah, with Carlin, like his rhythm, his pacing, his facial features, his physical was so light and silly, where like he's saying really serious things, but he's doing it in a way where it's fun, it's enjoyable. So yeah, I think that's definitely the artistic part of being able to deliver something. There was like another quote another comedian shared with me on Facebook, but it was like, if you don't make them laugh or dance, they're gonna kill you, you know? And that's kind of how it feels, where it's like, you can't say something serious straight up, or they hate you. What are you doing?
Who's mastered that for his entire comedy career, and this is something I've noticed because I think I'm naturally a storyteller, is Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Where I'll listen to what he's saying and analyze it from a different mind because I naturally write in stories and things like that. And I'm like, yo, this guy is saying some like very like hard-hitting real shit, social shit, but he wraps it up in this comedic storytelling way where he'll end the punchline at the end. Like I watched his, I don't know if it was the special that was on Netflix before this one, mm-hmm. where he opened it up and then brought the first opening back at the end. Well, I'm just like, this motherfucker's a genius.
Yeah.
Like, how did you remember all that?
Yeah.
But it'd be social commentary, and it's like, but he's wrapping it up in comedy, so no one truly feels the weight of it, but it's weighty.
Yeah, and there is something with art and that idea of like presenting something that's super powerful or counterculture or anti-government or anti-authority, where, you know, if something is just head-on critical to the government, odds are it's going to be taken down or censored or banned or whatever. But if it's entertaining, it can get through. And I think the concept is like, the only way to win through art that way is it has to be so powerful and enjoyable that it's also pleasing the oppressor. So the people who are holding you down, they have to like it too for it to get through. Where like, even though you're shitting on them, where you're like, the government's corrupt, these people are pieces of shit, you have to make it so entertaining where even the target, even the oppressors are going, hey, we like this. This is funny. This is good. It's entertaining. Even though he's saying, oh, we control the world, we hold people down, we manipulate things, we steal money, we hurt poor people, this and that. Even though all that's true, and it's a dangerous message for people to hear because, you know, they'll start to think against us. It's funny, it's entertaining. So it's like, yeah, some movies, some music, some theater and stage performers, comedians, some people can do that well enough where they're able to get out a message that's pleasing the oppressor. But for the most part anyway, the oppressor ends up making more money off these people anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
There's a monetary value to it.
Yeah, the tax and shit. Like, even with Diddy, where it's like, oh, why did it take so long for Diddy to this or that? It's like, I think his tax bracket just lowered. Like, I think the more you pay in taxes, the more you can get away with. You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh, well, this person's valuable to us. and everybody's co-opted and
I never
corrupted.
thought about it that way. Like, if he's in jail, he can't pay the government anymore.
100%.
Let him keep going out there dancing, doing his thing.
Yeah, why the fuck did they let Tekashi 6ix9ine out of prison? He is an asset, and he makes tax money. Like Hollywood in general, any entertainment industry, it's kind of like you're a horse, and they're always just riding you. So they're benefiting more than you're ever going to benefit.
Well, Kanye had brought that up in one of his interviews, saying basically he says he hates being a celebrity, and then the interviewer basically like asked him why, and he's like, I'm like the whore. Like, there's product and then there's celebrity. He was like, all businesses and companies look at us as you're a marketing source to sell my product.
100%.
That's it. Mm-hmm. And nowadays we call it influencers or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're getting treated the same way. Influencers just, hey, can you sell our shampoo, or can you do this, do that?
Yeah.
They don't care about you as the human.
Oh,
it's
not
just
at all.
like, yo, you can make us some money because everyone knows you.
Yeah, influencer is just such a crazy concept in general, because it's like influence used to be like a dirty word when we were a kid. Like, stay above the influence. Don't let people influence you. And now with influencer, it's like they've cut out the middleman of like talent, where it's like influencers back in the day were just celebrities on commercials. Mm-hmm. They weren't called influencers, but now influencers just like, I'm not even a celebrity. I'm just a straight up person telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what to buy. So it's crazy that, yeah, influencers, it's mostly just hot young people who like don't do shit.
Do you think that impedes on the integrity of comedy? Influencer culture?
Influencer, I don't know if that affects comedy. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, some of them, like a lot of influencers try to be funny, and it's just cheap, washed out, watered down comedy, like simple sketches. Oh my God, a lot of like reaction videos. That's insane. Like people make millions of dollars reacting to funny shit. And then, oh my God, what the fuck?
And people want to see people react to something already instead of just reacting to it themselves. Yeah. I always found that kind of odd, but I'm starting to get used to it. Like, being someone that's 31 now, I'm like, maybe I'm just have to keep up with this stuff. I don't know, but okay.
It's like when people started watching people playing video games instead of playing video games.
Perfect example.
That was like a shift.
Yeah.
And yeah, now we're watching people experience emotions instead of us experiencing emotions. It's insane. We're enjoying seeing someone go, oh, whoa, oh my God, what, did you see that?
The epitome of living vicariously through others.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We're living through people 100%. And then we just convince ourselves that, oh yeah, I feel that way because they feel that way. I like that person, so whatever they're doing, that's how I would react. And then, people model themselves after other influencers, and everybody's chasing trends. I mean, that's how Hollywood and movie industries work. One movie about the White House comes out that does well, 2 more movies about it come out the next year. So yeah, it's always figuring out the way to be the person to break through and start the trend, start the wave, make the first ripple or whatever. Which, yeah, I know, I mean, might get harder and harder, because as more and more artists and influencers pop up, it'll feel harder and harder to have an original thought, because just more thoughts are happening simultaneously at all times.
Now, so, I have to ask, are you concerned about cancel culture? Do you fear cancel culture? You've alluded to maybe you experiencing it with these, because about how outspoken you are, but is that something that keeps you up at night or you think about?
Well, cancel culture, I don't worry about it much at all, but I do feel bad because I made a comedy music album, and it was 40 songs, and it's unbelievable. Cancel culture. Yeah, so I don't think cancel culture is on my mind much. I don't worry much about what I say. I put out some pretty wild stuff. I cared for a while because they put my reality show on Netflix in 2020. It was a top 10 show. I got more views or whatever attention than I've ever gotten before. So I was trying to be safe because I wanted to get on like America's Got Talent. I was in talks with the producer of that. They told me I was going to get on. I never got on. But so I had a 40-track comedy music album, and I took it down during that period because I had a few songs which were so extreme, and they're amazing and I love them still, and I haven't put it back up, which I'm trying to get back up soon. it annoys me that it's not right now. But I did take down most of a comedy music album when I was at my most popular, because there were a few songs. There was a song where I said faggot on it. It was in a character. Hilarious. I think it's okay. But I was worried about. There was another song where I said the N-word on it as like a racist country guy. There's another song where I talk about like stomping on foreign babies' heads from like the point of view of like American military. So yeah, there were these really powerful, hilarious songs, but I did get worried because I thought, oh wow, I have all this attention right now. It doesn't matter context these days. Nothing matters context. If you just pull out 2 seconds of anything, people will kill you and cancel you for it. So I did pull down songs that I believed in, but I caved because I was scared of people canceling me or physically attacking me.
Do you regret that decision?
I do.
Now?
I regret it terribly because I wonder if I did leave those up at my most popular, if it would have put me somewhere better. Mm-hmm. Because that is who I am, true to myself. I mean, if me saying faggot in a song is who I am, I think it's hilarious.
And it's creative. And this is the thing when it comes to cancel culture, what I had to understand, right? And I'm not nowhere in this public spotlight or anything like that, but I philosophize about a lot of things. Cancel culture doesn't really exist. And I'll explain, right? When you think about cancel culture, you're not really, like, that would have got you a huge audience.
Yeah. So the video just cut out for a half hour. We were talking here, and we were actually talking about cancel culture, and then the battery canceled itself. So we had a good train of thought going, and now there's other people who have walked in and need to use the studio. We're way past our time.
We may do a part 2.
Oh, well, sure, yeah. And yeah, you don't need a...
So John, where are you now? Where's your future aspirations? Even though I know you said you don't think about the future, but where
so I have one stand-up project I'm working on at the moment. I'm very excited about, but I can't really talk about it because it's something different and I don't want to spoil anything. But like we were talking about, you know, political humor, oneness, everything's all the same. The world is going to be an airport one day. It's just going to be security and iPhones, and, you know, it'll be very sterile and nice if that's what you like. But yeah, the house always wins, you know. The government is your friend if you want to be their friend. So yeah, really the more you pay in taxes, the more they're going to be nice to you. But, you know, just be good, love each other. The best things in life are free. They've tried to tell you that you need to pay for shit, and, you know, expensive designer stuff is good, but, you know, sunlight, water, exercise, hanging out, talking, these are all the best things for you. Just eat, you know, decent food. Like, life is so simple. And, you know, the things that they can't monetize are the most important, which is why they don't share them that much. But yeah, just get sunlight, eat well, be nice to people, drink water. It's really that simple, and it always will be that simple.
All right, John.
I love you. Thank you for talking to me.
Yes, and I love you too, John. Where can they find you? On like socials and things like that.
You can find me at Maybach Diamonds on Instagram. I don't know why that's my name. But yeah, Maybach Diamonds. Those were just 2 luxurious things I thought of when I was a kid. And yeah, TampaNewsForce.com. Just see me on John Jacobs CC, TikTok, my content, John Jacobs on YouTube. Anywhere. And hopefully I'll see you on television again one day. But yeah, we could have talked for 4 more hours, but all the equipment messed up. Amateur, what are you doing? Not even your real name, Blue. What are you?
And John, we will see you on TV very soon.
Yes,
very soon.
I think so too. You speak it into existence. You manifest it. Everything is real.
Indeed.
Hand signals are real. But yeah, I love everything. I love the world. I love my friends and family. And yeah, I just want to make people laugh and make people happy and be the best to my ability as I can possibly be, live up to my full potential. And I think that's what everyone should do. Just try to be the best version of yourself you can possibly be. So,
yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Thank
and I appreciate having you. And that is a wrap.